Hello, YouTube family. It has been a while since I have been here, but I'm so excited to reconnect with you again. So, this is my next episode that I'm doing right now, and it's about a year now in the United States. Like, where has the time gone? And I just want to share a little bit about starting over, and also just share my perspective or in retrospect of everything that's happened, my perspective about my year in the States and a year after my world came tumbling down. So, anyways, I'm so excited that you're here and I have so much to share with you guys. So, let's get into it. So, and this is the thing. I have had time to reflect and think about where God has taken me from and think about how intentional He has been with me. Let me take it back 365 days from where I am right now. I was in South Africa and I was going through massive heartbreak. And I'm going to speak about heartbreak and healing after heartbreak in my next episode. So please do tune in for that. I'm not going to get into that right now, but I remember kind of things falling into place whilst other things were falling out of place, were falling into pieces. And it takes me to one of my favorite scriptures, Psalms 5, verse 3. The TPT version says that you hear my voice again in the morning, Lord. I lay the pieces of my life at your altar and I wait for your fire to descend. There's something about brokenness, there's something about pieces that just gives way for a real fresh start. And starting over is so scary, especially at a certain age. But I realize now that life is all about starting over. Like, I'm going to continue starting over. Like, I actually enjoy it. I actually enjoy it. I enjoy starting over. So I remember just I was feeling upset, man. And I was upset with God. And I'll tell you why. I was never obsessed with getting married. I was, like any other young lady, I was doing my thing. And for those of you who know me, who've known me for a while, I'm such a huge advocate for singleness as well. So I was building this joyous life of being a single Black woman in ministry and in my career and in motherhood. And I was enjoying that so much. So I wasn't a person who felt like I needed to be married to be fulfilled. And so I was upset with God because I thought to myself, I didn't even want it that bad. And now I have to be a divorcee. And so it was just a strange time for me because I blamed myself for a lot of things. And I also blamed God. I was like, Lord, like why did I have to go through this? And then in retrospect, and especially speaking to my mom about my divorce, um, there were so many red flags. And they weren't just little handheld little red flags. No, these were massive. You know those flags that the army has to pull with the rope. Those flags that need government budgeting. It was those kind of flags. And they were blood red, they were crimson, and they were hitting me on my face. But I continued because I was like, no, it can't be. This I can't be going through this. Like I can't. So I could have stepped back early on, but I didn't. I remember just kind of going on my own will at some point. And I can attest to that. I can confess that. You know, I confess up to that at some point in the journey, it was my own will. And so I was upset with God, man, because I was like, couldn't you have just done something to to stop me from going into the situation that I went into? But let me tell you something. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful I was supposed to go through what I went through. It was a season, and the season had to play out. You know, there's some seasons that we go through in our lives, much like, the season that we're going through in terms of the climate. There's a season of flooding, and it's painful. Things wash away. Um, Things get consumed in the waters. There's seasons of drought, where things dry up, where there's lack, and you miss that abundance and that lushness of the season before, and you're kind of in that place of desiring the season that's coming next, but you can't rush a season. It has to play out. It has to play out. And so I remember talking about seasons as well in the years before, and how I had to dig into those lessons, my own lessons about going through seasons. So now it's like I'm talking in codes now. But I had to go through the season of being married. And then I had to let the season of being divorced play out. But one thing I promised myself was, in all of the things that can happen, and this might be controversial to some people, in all of the brokenness that was happening, in all of the miscommunication, the confusion, and maybe the conflict that could maybe arise in the process of separating, I said to myself, other than the vow of staying with you, I'm going to keep every vow that I made to you. And that is to respect you and love you. But I got to leave you. I got to go. I got to go because it wasn't serving me. I wasn't in the right place. And that season was over. And there was nothing that I could do to, to save it. And so I was in this place of thinking to myself, okay, I'm here now. And mind you, guys, I come from a family of 5 girls, and my sisters were married. My other young sister got married just a couple of months after me. My other sister was preparing to get married. My other sister is getting married now. So like it was a thing, like and we had like this thing where our husbands are gonna hang out together, and we're gonna hang out as a big family, and my family is a very tight knit family as well. And so I felt like I was a loser. Like here I am failing at yet another thing. And it's such a hard thing to have to go through. Also, another thing about leaving the person that you love, leaving the person that you told yourself and thought was the love of your life. There's so much pain in that, and people don't realize. I think there's a lot of instances, and I've connected with a community of women and men who have gone through divorce, and there's lots of different ways people leave marriages, whether they were short-lived or they've taken a long time to get to the point of divorce. But there's instances where you walk out kind of slamming the door, and there's instances, which was the case for me, where you walk out the door, but you're still looking through the window. You walk out the gate, but you're still outside the fence, just peering in. And it was difficult leaving somebody that I love. Whew. Okay, here I am getting emotional again. Like, I can't. Sympathy, honey. And so I found myself in this position, and in all of that, those pieces that I had laid out to God, I remember I was at the point, guys, where, like, when you're hurt and you're broken, but you're also just numb. Like, I was at the point where I was just numb. Like, I wasn't even crying anymore. Like, I was just there. I was just breathing, but there was nothing in me. Like, there was nothing. There was no color. Do you know what I mean? I was at the point where I was just, what will be, will be. And that was the perfect point when I don't know what my next move is. I don't know where I'm going to go. I don't even know where I'm going to live. I don't know what my next, and not just pieces of my heart, pieces of my life. My career was in the pits at that point. I was running two companies, but everything was just falling apart. And because I was not well, physically, I was broken. I was at my lowest weight I've ever been since I had a child. I couldn't keep my blood pressure down. I was constantly in hospital. So I was at the point where I literally had nothing. And I just said to God, over to you, get my dear. Over to you, because this I didn't plan. This was not part of what I thought it was going to be like. It was supposed to be happily ever after. It was supposed to be beautiful. And my relationship gave so many people hope. And so I was like, Lord, I over to you, because this was not part of my plan. And that was the perfect moment for God to take over and be like, do you trust me? Show me that you trust me. Do you trust me? So show me. In all of that brokenness is when I got communication from the university that I work at now. I don't remember applying for that job. The university sent communication to me to give me an interview. And from that moment on, it was like a yes, 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 yes. Which brings me to something, often sometimes when it serves us, we can hear the voice of God. And when it's not going to serve us, we choose to ignore it. You know when God is saying something to you. You know when God is leading you in a certain direction. But if it's not favorable to you at that moment, you have free will. We have free will to do what we like. And often we do what we want. But when it's about hearing God about what we want and desire, oh, we've got ears. But when, it's something that we don't quite like, then we choose to ignore it and make it seem as if God is not speaking. There are also moments in our lives when we're just out of tune. My dad made this example many years ago about how God is continuously speaking to us. And it's like those old school stereo, those radios where the person in studio who's the presenter doing the radio show, they're speaking. Whether you tuned into that station or not, they're continuing to speak. But it's up to you on this end to tune into it. And so sometimes we are out of tune and God is speaking, but we're too busy or not logged in, or we don't have the time and we're not in the space for God to speak something to us. And so I moved to America, guys. And I must tell you, even on the flight here, there was excitement, but that made about 13% of what I was feeling. The rest was sheer confusion, fear, and especially of the unknown. And just, I didn't know what I was in for, where I was going, what was it about. But what has been so surprising to me, and this is my reflection, and this is my testimony, is God's intentionality in my spontaneity. It was, for me, a spontaneous decision. Here you are, Vele, there's nothing for you here. You might as well go pack your child into your suitcase, jump on a flight, and go start a job in California. But actually, it was God's plan. And it's slowly being revealed to me my why. Why am I here? There's a lot of whys that I know about my life. I know my purpose. I do in life. I know what I'm supposed to be doing on this earth, at least 85% of it. But I didn't know why here. Why California? Why now? Whew. And to think how weighty this is. This is so weighty, right? I'm now based on two different continents, two different nations. Whew, weighty. It's super weighty. And I'm with boldness, but also so much humility. I'm so excited about what God is doing in my life. So a year in America, ish, it's been incredible. it's been exactly what I needed. I didn't know I needed this. In the adventure, God was just like, this is part of your chapters. In the impulsiveness, God was like, this is part of the book. This is part of the Tando Lwenkosi book. And it's been absolutely, guys, and this is the thing, there are moments, especially when you're away from home, away from family, there are moments that are so dark. I went through a depression in January. I don't call it my depression, guys. It's not my depression. I went through a depression, the enemy's depression, in January. And it was a very dark time. It was in the middle of my first year here. And I think it was just me doing the final lap of unraveling from what I went through. I'm a late bloomer, but I'm also a late bloomer in terms of reacting to things. Things can happen to me now, but I'll only feel the impact and the trauma of it months later, years later. I think the trauma of my separation finally hit me. And I broke. I completely broke. I remember just days on end, just day after day. I couldn't even feel the evening and the morning and the evening and the morning. And I felt so bad for my child because I was just completely absent. And I was just lying on the floor of my bedroom, just days on end, day in, day out, day in, day out. And some of it was prayer, but most of it was just weeping. Most of it was, why me? Most of it was, why now? Why like this? And at that moment, also, I didn't actually need answers from God. I learned a different facet of God. I learned God as a comforter. I just needed Him to rock me and to just hold me. And that's what I felt. I felt the comfort, um, that nurturing comfort from God. Because I didn't need solutions. I just needed to cry. And all those questions I had, I would ask Him, but I didn't need answers. I just needed to know that He was there and that He was seeing this and that He was. And there's a scripture that says, He counts every tear and puts it in His jar of remembrance. And I was like, Lord, I hope you're seeing these. I hope you're seeing these tears. Because I didn't ask for this. Hang in this chat there. And like, now I'm going through it. So this is on you. So I'm crying to you. This is you. You know what I mean? I remember when I got the job to come to California and me saying yes to God, part of those conditions were, I said, Lord, I'll go to California. Lord, I'll take my child. Lord, I'll go start this new job and a new life. On one condition though, it's on you. But I didn't realize that me saying that, I was declaring that it was on you in terms of the logistics, the finances, the provision, and whatever else. But I was also declaring something subconsciously in that. I was declaring that even my heart is on you. Even when I start to feel the brokenness of what I've been through, it's going to be on you. Even when I start to break and be homesick, it's going to be on you. But that declaration encompassed everything. I prophesied over my life when I said that, and everything was encompassed in that. And it reminds me of that scripture that says, He perfects everything concerning you. And so everything concerning it being on Him was perfected. And God rocked me during those months. And I came out of that just kind of refreshed, but also ready to go home. Like I needed to touch base. I think reflecting back, I only really started over after that time of brokenness and being so depressed and being so in such a dark place. That's when I really felt like, okay, now I'm starting over. I'm starting my life now. Like, let's go. Let's go. That's when I started this YouTube channel. That's when I started being more active on my social media, which gives me so much joy. I'm lucky in the fact that I really enjoy social media, and uh, in the joy and the engagement and the positivity that I get from being on social media, only 0.001% of it is negative, and it's usually from people who don't know me anyways, and so I couldn't care less. But all in all, it has opened me up to such an amazing community of people and just also thought leaders and just think tanks about our hearts. Whew, okay, yeah, like creating a think tank about what we're going through in our hearts. And that's very important to me. Thinking through, because I'm a thinker, I'm an academic. And so thinking through about what's going on inside of me. And so it's been incredible. It's been incredible. And now I'm starting over. Now I'm like, oh wait, I'm single again. And I'm cute. I'm cute too. Like, don't ever forget that. Like, you cute. You are so cute. And like, I've got so much going on for myself. Um and also my child is growing up. Zibu's a tween. Like, he's almost a teenager. He's gonna be a teenager in like 2 months or so. And that's exciting for us. So this is a lot that's going on. And I'm like, starting over isn't that bad. Like, it isn't in the, and obviously, listen, to start over, you don't need to move to another country, child. Listen, only weird people like me do that. But starting over really demands for you to be at a place where you really trust God fully, like fully. And what does that really look like for you? What does it look like for you to trust God? Saying you trust God is easy. What is the action to show it? To be intentional about it. And so starting over for me has meant to show more and more every day how much I trust God. And honey, that requires me to do less and less. I've been living such a chilled out life. I used to be such an intense person because I was always doing. Right now, I'm a being. I am a human being. And that's all the pressure I have is just to be at the moment. I've been through the season of putting pressure on myself. I've been through the season of pushing my career. I've been through the season of the accolades and the scholarships and the publications and the interviews and the whatevers. I'm in the season of thriving now. I'm in the season of, you know, eating the fruits of my labor. Whether that people think that labor is a lot or too little or too small, I don't care. God is saying, Vuna manje, Vuna. And I'm here for it. Don't be afraid to start over. Don't be afraid to say goodbye to everything that you knew to be true. Don't be afraid to stand up again and find a way of feeling like you again. And in those moments of having to start over, whether it's in a career, whether it's in your life, relationship wise, whatever it is, you're gonna need to lean on people. My family support was poignant. If I did not have my family, guys, I don't know where I would be because most of the time I was just numb. And I see how people can stay in a toxic situation for a long time because you just become kind of numb to it. And you just wake up and go to bed and wake up and go to bed and you just kind of like, and it takes people to love you out of that situation. And also some prayer warriors too, to help you get out of that situation. I could not have done it alone. Get some people to lean on. Get even if just one person stand in the gap with you, stand in the gap for you. There were moments where I could not even pray. I would just be in church, just floating. And there were people who were standing in the gap for me. They were fighting for me. They were fighting for my life. And I think what was heartbreaking for me was after everything that had happened, hearing what my family was going through, seeing me in that state. I mean, hearing things like you were a shadow of yourself, and my mother saying, you know, Tando's gonna die. She's not gonna be okay. And we need to pray. That was hard because when you're in it, whew, hey man, when you're in it, you there's a lot of things that are going through. It's an unexplainable experience because you would think that you would have sense to whatever. There's no sense when it comes to love. Starting over and feeling like myself again, that's where I am now. but it took some time. It took a lot of prayer. Through all of this, God has done something really special in my life of intercession and has revealed to me so many things that He wants to do in this season through prayer and through intercession. And I thank you so much for all those people, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people who join us for the prayer chain. Because God, oh, and this is why everything works together for the good. I had to go through what I went through to get to where I am right now. And what God is doing through those prayer chains, it's incredible. I've never seen anything like it. And we're just standing in the gap for our countries, standing in the gap for our families, for our marriages, for our children, for our communities. We're standing in the gap for gender based violence, standing in the gap for crime in general in South Africa, corruption. And God, in the midst of all of that, is healing us. God is prospering us. God is giving us breakthroughs whilst we are trying to, you know, extend His kingdom, whilst we are trying to glorify Him. And it takes me to my favorite scripture of all time, Matthew 6, verse 33. Seek first the kingdom of God and seek God's righteousness, and all these other less important things shall be added unto you. And so, all the other less important things, oh Lord, He is adding unto us, and it's overwhelming. I declared in the beginning of this year that this is the year where God is going to spoil us. And I see it so much this year, where God is just providing in areas that we didn't even mention in prayer. But God is helping us to grow, helping us to seek Him and find Him as well. It's been so incredible sharing with you guys on my YouTube channel. And thank you so much for all the engagement, even on my Instagram. I really, really appreciate you guys. And look out for my next episode. That next episode is going to be so interesting because I'm going to delve more into dealing with heartbreak and more about how God used that to take me to a different place in my ministry. So thank you so much for joining me. See you next time.